Hello, everyone, and welcome to Invitation to Puzzles, where today we have for you a German Whispers puzzle by J.N. The German Whispers are the only clue type in this grid, aside from this given 8, I suppose. And what they say is that digits along a green line, if they're next to each other, need to differ by at least 5. The rules here note that's for a 9 by 9. That's because the rules are slightly different in a 6 by 6. But this is a 9 by 9, so that's all you have to know is that this 8, for example, needs to be at least 5 away from each of these digits. So you can't go 5 up because that would put you to 13. So you have to go at least 5 down. So these digits can only be 1, 2, 3, for example. And that will get you sort of started thinking about this constraint. There's a link in the description if you want to try the puzzle, and I will go ahead and give it a go as well. All right, so beginning to look at this, I think one of the best things you can do, and you can actually kind of see this here by the fact that I sort of wrote in that these could only be 1, 2, or 3. So actually a 1, 2, 3 triple. But actually German Whispers sort of have this property that they split numbers into 3 flavors of numbers, which I'm going to try and find somewhere I can write 3 numbers. There's the numbers that are 5, the numbers that are less than 5, and the numbers that are more than 5. The numbers that are 5 can't go into German Whispers at all because there's no numbers that are at least 5 away from 5 that I can validly write into a 999 Sudoku grid. If I write a 0 or a 10, I must be doing something a little bit off. So instead, we're stuck with the numbers that are less than 5 and the numbers that are bigger than 5. And the key property that these numbers have is I can never put 2 of either kind next to themselves. So I can never put 2 numbers that are from 1, 2, 3, 4 next to each other on a German Whisper, because the furthest apart these can be is 3, I suppose I should say. And 3 is not as much as 5. And the furthest apart these can be from themselves is 3. And 3 isn't as much as 5. And so what that means is we always bounce back and forth between a 1, 2, 3, 4 number and a 6, 7, 8, 9 number. And so along this line, I don't know which one this is between 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6, 7, 8, 9, but that's the other one. And then this is the first one again, and then that's the other one. And the way we usually sort of handle that is with colors. So we'll color 6, 7, 8, 9 numbers in orange. We'll color 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers in blue, and we'll color numbers that are 5 in green. And so you can sort of see just the beginnings of this with this fact that this 8 is a high number, and these 1, 2, 3 are low numbers. I'm going to delete this before I accidentally leave this example here and break the puzzle. But we can sort of propagate that because now these 2 digits are next to a low number on a German Whisper, so they're high. So is that one, actually. And so now this one is low, that one is high, that one is low, and that one's low, and that one is high, like that. Okay, so how is this helpful? Well, one way it's helpful is that it gives us this digit right away. And that's because this digit is low, which means it's 1, 2, 3, or 4. But this is a 1, 2, 3 triple, remember? So this is all of 1, 2, and 3 in some order. So this is a 1, 2, 3, 4 number that's not 1, 2, or 3. So it must be 4. And that's a good time to contemplate what numbers can go next to a 4 on a German Whispers. So you have to be at least 5 away from 4. And that just gets you straight to 9. There's no other option. And so it's the interior numbers, 4 and 6, that are most constrained in terms of German Whispers. And then the outer numbers, 1 and 9, that are the most flexible. And there are often sort of somewhat off-color jokes made about the fact that it's the flexible digits that pair up with the very conservative digits. And one could imagine the sitcom about the 4 and the 9, and the 9's other friends, the 1, the 2, and the 3, the 9 hangs out with, and then the 4 gets jealous of, or whatever. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So that gives you one hint, is sort of like sometimes you just know what a digit is when you realize that actually, basically by coloring a cell blue, I've candidate marked it 1, 2, 3, 4. That is center marked it, but I don't have to write that all out because I just know that's what blue means. But there's also sort of coloring tricks like this. Like in this row, I know there's 4 blue numbers, and we've already got the 4 blue numbers. So every other number in this row has to be orange or green. And I can't put a green digit on a green line because that would clash aesthetically. And because that would be putting a 5 on a green line, and there aren't digits I can put next to it. So actually, that's the 5. And these digits are, in fact, all orange. And I might as well write in for now. There's 6, 7, 8. Exactly. And I can now propagate that coloring. So that's usually how the flow of a German Whispers puzzle works, is that you sort of propagate from line to line the colors. So we've got sort of orange going to blue, and now we sort of hope that we can propagate this to one of these assorted lines over here eventually. I'm confident we'll get there. Okay, so let's have a look at this. 6, 7, 8 triple. And one of this 6, 7, 8 triple is, in fact, a 6. And so the 6 is a lot like the 4, except instead of liking the 9, the 6 and the 9 don't get along, funnily enough. And so the 6 instead gets along with the 1. Well, whichever of these is a 6, it's definitely next to that one. And so this one can only be a 1. Now, the sort of follow-on from that is these digits aren't 1, because I only get 1 1 in the box. And so this number is next to a number that's not 1. Well, it's not a 6. And this number is next to a number that's not 1. So it's not a 6. And therefore, this number is the 6, because we've got a 7, 8 pair now. And it's probably also worth mentioning, these two digits, if you look at them, they can't be 4, because 4, remember, only goes next to 9, and neither of these numbers is 9. So therefore, neither of them is 4, and now these are a 2, 3 pair. And so we can sort of bounce that 2, 3 pair back into box 2 to see that this digit, which is low, is not 2, 3, or 4, so this is a 1. And this number must be itself a 2 or a 3. Now, if you're into that sort of thing, we can mark, oh, this is a 7 or an 8, because it's not a 9, and it's not a 6, because it's next to a none 6 number. This one could be a 6 still. These presently, I believe, can be just about anything. Let's see. So now, if I look at this row, what I can see, in fact, actually, it's this cell that I think is most helpful to look at. This cell sees 1, 2, 3 in the row, and it sees 4 in the box. And therefore, this digit's not 1, 2, 3, or 4. This digit is high. And that's a nice way to see a number is high, is to say it sees every low digit and isn't 5. And so we can color this line, which now bounces into this box and says, okay, well, this digit now just has to be a 4 because it's low and it's not 1, 2, or 3. 4 only goes next to 9. So we get to put that in. This number here I contend is a 7 or an 8. It can't be a 6 because 6 only goes next to 1. And so this is another property of 6s that you could say, and I could have used this up here if I wanted. You can never put a 6 in the middle of two cells that see each other, because if I put a 6 here, I'd need to put a 1 in both of those cells, and that would not work well. Okay, so I think now the natural question is, what digit is this? And this digit is actually next to 3 digits of the opposite high, mid, lowity. So these 3 are all the same. And so the question is, could these be low? In other words, could they be 1, 2, 3, 4? And they actually can't be, because if they're 1, 2, 3, 4, what digit goes here? Well, even if these are 1, 2, 3, I would need this digit here to be an 8 or a 9. It just can't be, because it sees an 8 and a 9. So, put a different way, if this number was high, it would be a 6 or a 7, and that's a problem, because 6 only goes next to 1, and 7 only goes next to 1 and 2. Neither of those digits would give me enough opportunity to fill all 3 of these cells. So, in fact, this has to be a 1 or a 2. 3 and 4, much like the 6 and the 7, don't work, because a 3 would, in fact, here only go next to 8 and 9, and a 4 would only go next to 9, okay, which is even more of a problem because there's a 9 here in the box. But we can continue our coloring. Oops, those are blue. Okay, and so now these are 6, 7, 8. Okay, and now we can repeat the argument that we made up here in this box. Neither of these digits can be 6 because they're next to two numbers. So this digit is 6, and 6 only goes next to 1. And I said we could repeat the argument. I then decided to phrase the argument a different way, but it's the same idea. You could phrase it exactly the same way as we did up here because the boxes have very similar information floating around. Okay, so these digits aren't 1 and they're not 4, so these are a 2, 3 pair. Now, they're not 4 because they would need to go next to a 9, and these aren't 9. I noticed something I should have noticed before that I didn't, which is that this is actually a 6, 7 pair because these digits are high and they're not 8 or 9. So these are 6 and 7. Okay, but that wasn't super useful before, but it is super useful now because now this digit can't be a 6. Because remember, if this was a 6, that digit would be obligated to be a 1, which it no longer can be. So in fact, that's the 7, that's the 6, that's the 8. And the 7 only goes next to 1 or 2, and therefore this is a 2 because the 1 there is toast. This digit I also know what it is because it goes next to a 7 or an 8, but it's not a 1 or a 2. 4 only goes next to 9, so it can't be a 4. So 3 is the only low digit available, and 3, and this is the mistake I make most often in my life in German whispers puzzles, and perhaps my life more broadly, is that 3 and 7 are not in fact 5 apart. So 3 cannot go next to 7, even if it sounds like they're 5 apart. They're still really not. Okay, so we get that whole mess over there. Okay, and so now we can actually sort of work out the rest of this box if we want. So first of all, this box doesn't have a 5 yet, so the 5 has to go there because I can't put it on Whisper. And now this cell is a 4, okay, which will allow me to say that it's next to the only number 4 goes next to, which is a 9. So that gets us, again, sort of this continuation of our coloring, which is very, very nice. I know this is a 2 or a 3. And I am going to go ahead and note neither of these cells can be 4 either, because both of them are next to 2 orange cells. And 4 would only go next to 2 9s, which doesn't work. So these are from 1, 2, 3, which gives me a triple of 1, 2, 3. And I can use that triple in a few ways, one of which is to notice that I can place 4 in this box, namely it goes there. Now, assuredly, that also helps with some other thing. Let's see, we're going to have to put a 7 in this column somewhere. I don't necessarily see what I'm doing with the 7. Maybe I'll just continue the coloring over to this W, because these 3 digits on the W, these are all the same color, and that color isn't blue, because that would put 6 blues in this row, which is a pretty big problem. So these have to all be orange, which means these are all blue. Did that make my life any better? I'm not sure that it instantly did, at least. Let's see. I see that in this column I haven't placed a 5 yet, so the 5 goes here because it's the only place left. And so therefore by Sudoku, that digit is a 5. And by this box, this digit is orange. And so it's the only orange digit left, which is 9, which makes that digit a 5 for the row. Oops. Or red circle. 5, red circle, whatever you want. Let's see. These are 6 and 7. Okay, and this being 6 and 7 has a consequence that I guess I basically only unlocked now because I didn't know this was a 9 before. But namely, 3 doesn't go next to 6 or 7, so neither of those are 3, which in fact makes these a 1, 2 pair, which makes that a 3. And that 3 sees down here and makes that a 2. Makes these a 1, 3 pair. These are 6, 7, and 8, and actually this is orange as well, I'm noticing, because the column is still missing an orange digit, and we actually know that that digit is a 7, And so that tells me that these two numbers are 6 and 8 in some as of yet undisclosed order. Let's see. Okay, so I see now, this is a little bit sneaky, I can get the color of this digit because it sees 2, 3, 4 in the row and it sees 1 in the column. So this is, as I would say, a naked not low, so it's high. Naked in this case just meaning if you filled in every digit it could be before you did that coloring. If you just said, okay, well, this cell, I'm just going to be really gratuitous and say, okay, it's well 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. Well, Sven will tell you it's not 1, 4, 5, or 6, but then this 2, 3 pair will tell you it's not 2 or 3. So you learn this digit is orange just by filling in its values, even if you don't always do that right away. Okay, that's helpful because it gives me the last orange in this row. That's 4 oranges. So these are a blue and a 5 to finish out the row, and that one's the 5 by Sudoku. So this is blue, and the only blue missing from the row is a 4. So we know that is a 4. This is certainly a 1 or a 2. I don't know that I'm doing a lot with that right away. Let's see. What else are we doing with our lives is always a good question to ask. Well, here's one thing I can ask. What's left in this column? And so it's 1 blue and 2 oranges. Well, this has to be a blue and an orange. So the second orange goes here. So this cell is definitely orange. So by the column alone, it's 7 because it's not 6. Well, sorry, not by the column alone. By Sudoku, it's not 6, 8, or 9, and it's orange. So in fact, this digit, if you want, is a naked 7. That's the only digit it can possibly be. So one of these over here is 7. Good to know. Let's see. I do see that neither of these digits. Oh, in fact, none of these 3 digits can be 6. That's worth noting. Okay. So here's a good thing to notice. This digit's not 1. So this is 2, 3, and it's not 4 because it borders 2 things. So 4 would put 2 9s here. That's not going to work. But that means that this number is next to, well, these 2. So these 2 can't be 6. So these are from 7, 8, 9. This number can't be 6 just by Sudoku, so this is a 7, 8, 9. Okay, and that's pretty helpful because it gives me a 7, 8, 9 triple and means this has to be the 6, which makes that the 1, which makes that the 2 and the 3. And now this 2 is going to sort out the entirety of these 3 columns. That's very nice because that 2 is going to say, okay, well, this is an 8, not a 6, so that's the 6. So now this is the 3, and that's the 1. And now we get this lovely little cascade of things going in up here. And so I now know that these are a 1 and a 9 in some order, yet to be disclosed to us, but some order. Okay, I do know this is a 1 or a 2, I see. In fact, it's only a 2 because it sees 1, 3, and 4. So this is a naked 2. So now that's helpful because now one of these 2 digits is low. And I don't know which one is low, but I know what the digit is. Namely, the low digit, the only one available is 4, so it has to go with a 9. So that means these 2 are a 4-9 pair. But in fact, I can't put that as the 4 because I need to put 9s in both of these places, which has multiple problems, including that it would be putting 2 9s in one box, and then it would be putting 2 9s in the same row. So that's not the 4, which means that this is the 4, which buys me the coloring of this line. And we're getting super close to being done coloring the whole grid. From this row, we can in fact color these 2 as orange because we've got all of our blues and our green. This box I seem also to be able to color that this is blue. It's blue and it's a blue 3 actually if you look at it. That's helpful. So that's 3, that's 2. Let's see. Okay, so this is a blue 1 because it sees 2, 3, 4 in the row. This is a 2 or a 3 of some description. these are a 6-7 pair by the row, which now means these are an 8-9 pair by the box, but now this one is the last orange in its row, so it's in fact actually a 9. Would have been a good place for me to start, but I didn't start there, so you will sadly have to live with it. Let's see. This is an orange. Looks like 6 or 8 to me. I know we've got a 5 over here. Okay. This cell is actually a naked 9. It sees 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. This cell can only be 9, so we can fill that in. So now where does 8 go in this box just by Sudoku? And the answer is there, which now makes this the 3. So we've at least finished coloring our lines now. We can still finish coloring the rest of the grid. But that's pretty potent because now that 8 tells me that this is a 6. I guess I could have also gotten that from the 8-9 pair. If you would like, let's see, that's 8 and 7. This 8 gives me a 3 and a 2 and a 3. It gives me a 9 and an 8 over here. And now we're sort of finishing up this grid. Let's see, that digit is a 1. So these are a 5 and a 4, and I don't think I know what order they go in yet, somewhat miraculously. These are a 5 and a 7. Okay, so that's the 7. That's the 5. Let's see. These are a 6 and a 4. So that's the 6. That's the 4. This is a blue that's a 2. This is my 5 over here because that's what finishes out the box. And so now we can just finish everything up by filling in the last tiny handful of digits. So that's a 4, a 9, and a 4. Very nice puzzle there. I hope you enjoyed that. I quite enjoyed that. Let us know in the comments if you learned anything about German whispers. I think this is actually a very good intro to solving 9x9 German whispers. So I hope you enjoyed that, and we'll be back soon with more Invitation to Puzzles. So thanks for watching, and bye for now.